Howdy, my name is Cooter Pickleberry. This is Florida Man Cooking, and today we're making a blackened ribeye, a big one, and a few lamb chops. That's how it looks when it's done. Absolutely beautiful. This is a 2-inch thick, big old piece of bone-in ribeye, land manatee. Start out by giving it a little dry. Put it on a rack with some parchment paper to make the baking sheet easier to clean up. Gonna pat that dry. Throw a bunch of salt on it. A huge chunk of meat can take a lot of salt. We're doing this because we want to get a nice sear. And the easiest way to get a nice sear is to have a dry surface to start with, so the salt will penetrate if you let it sit long enough. We put this in the fridge for I think about 5 or 6 hours. If you're going to just salt it right before you cook it, then salt it right before you cook it. But if you really want to get it dried out, let it sit all day in the fridge with some salt on it. Salt will get absorbed, pull that moisture in with it. That's kind of how that works. I use the rack just so that you get air on both sides and drip onto that parchment paper. So it goes in the fridge. I apologize for my voice, by the way. I'm fighting a bug. Came out after about 5 hours right here. Just gonna hit the paper towel one more time. And you can see there's a little bit of stuff came off that. And then I found an old bottle of Paul Prudhomme's steak blackening season. He was a big influence on my cooking a long time ago. I used to love his videos. Big old dude from New Orleans, and made a lot of really good Cajun recipes that I'll never forget. So I just stick some of that on. You can make your own. You don't have to buy any store-bought blackening season. But I had this probably for 10 years in the pantry, and I figured I'd just grab it and use it. Get rid of that rack now. And it's just one huge piece of lamb manatee. Good stuff. Didn't have quite the marbling I was hoping for, but that's what they had, so that's what I bought. Now we're going to make sure that we get the fat cap covered too, and even the bone, because there's still some meat there that I'm going to gnaw on later, and I like that blackening flavor. We'll just kind of pat that into the paper underneath it to get as much as we can on. Give a little rubberooski. And there's Blackstone. Got this thing cranking, showing about 260 degrees Celsius, somewhere around 500 degrees Fahrenheit, but my Fahrenheit button doesn't work on my IR probe anymore, so using some beef tallow instead of oil. I just think of cooking beef, and I've got beef tallow. I try to use that as a grease for it. And then, of course, we're going to render some more fat off the meat itself, because I'm going to brown that first, and that'll leak a little bit out and keep that the grill nice and lubed up. So there it is, 2-inch thick, huge piece of meat. Turned out really good, tastes delicious. We just set on that fat cap initially, and we'll get a little bit more tallow type stuff from that. We melt that fat down and crisp it up a little bit. And we'll just park it about 3 minutes aside to get that good sear. I use a sear weight. That doesn't squish the juice out, it just makes sure that every bit is contacting the surface. And you can see the dog tail back there, the Blackstone grew a tail. Same thing on the other side. Now when we move that, when we flipped it, we moved it onto another part of the grill there just a little bit. It's hotter. The meat cools it off. Just get my temperatures right. This is kind of an important step. You want to sear stuff on a really high temperature. You can't cook a big piece of meat like that. You'll burn the outside and the inside will be raw. We just seared a couple minutes like that. Get the internal temp, some idea what we're at. We want to cook this to about 120. It's such a giant chunk of meat that the carryover temp is going to bring it up to 130, which is medium rare, which is where I want it. But now we'll break out the heavy duty stainless steel and turn that temperature down a little bit. Throw some butter in there. And we'll do a little bit of basting. Ideally use a bigger spoon than this. I don't know what I was thinking using a teaspoon, but you can see it baste up pretty nice. This just allows it to cook on both sides. So the bottom side's obviously got the heat from the Blackstone in the pan, and the top side's got the hot butter going over it. It all helps to slowly bring that temperature up inside the meat to that 120 we're looking for. And when you do this, make sure you keep flipping and flopping. That butter wasn't quite as frothy as I usually like, but I'm working Working sick tonight on this, so that's why it kind of came out that way. Tail's still there. It's actually my dog Pickles McFlipper. She's crazy. So we'll semi-continuously be checking that temperature to make sure we're not going to overshoot it too much. And it's done, so we'll pull that off. Got a lot more of this dinner though. So all that good beef fat and seasoning and everything else that's in that frying pan is going to do up some mushrooms and onions for me. That doesn't take too long to cook, about 10 minutes or so, and I wanted to rest that meat for about 10 minutes, let all the juices redistribute. So we'll just throw that on, give it the old slow-mo flipperooski. This pot is heavy, man. I had to use 2 hands. That's about enough of that. And we still got a couple other things we're going to do here. First of all, we're going to throw a little bit of Worcestershire sauce on because that's good on everything. And I like it so much we're going to throw a little more on. It's still good on everything. Meat's resting comfortably. Throw a little avocado oil down. And we're going to spread that around. Now, I just moved this Blackstone upstairs from being down in the dirt pile downstairs for a long time. I haven't quite got it leveled out where I want it yet, so everything's running to the back and to the left side, but that'll be fixed. I'm going to throw some asparagus down on that hot avocado oil. And it's important to just try to get that thing in a kind of a single layer. Can't have too much overlap or it won't cook very well, but this doesn't take but a few minutes. I like to have just a little bit of crunch with my asparagus, not totally soft. And this is a great way to do that. So we'll just move them around, flip a little bit here and there. And now we're going to lay down the lamb chops. Miss Hannah Banana Pickleberry prefers lamb to steak. So usually the steak goes for the boys and Mama gets the lamb chops. The lamb chops are just a little bit of oil on them, dry rubbed them, and with some herbs, and we'll just stick the steak weight on that for a second just to help keep that sear. We're not going to get quite as good of a sear though because I didn't dry the top off like I do with the steak. Give those a little flip. You can only take a few minutes aside on a decent temperature grill for a medium rare. Or actually, I think I cooked these two about medium. She doesn't quite like the medium rare. And that's done. We'll plate that up right next to the steak. Quick, easy cook, man. A little bit of preparation beforehand, and everything comes together real nicely. Asparagus is good. Mushrooms and onions are always a nice little accoutrement. And then we got a big pile of meat sitting there, and good stuff, man. You can see we got about a perfect medium rare on this land manatee. And of course, that bone got chomped on later. This is just a slicing for the dinner table. Let's try a piece. Medium rare, warm in the center. Here's a sick knee. Have a little bite. It was so good. I like that blackened season. It's not something I do every day, and I still prefer cooking probably on a wood fire or charcoal. But boy, for convenience, this thing is great. Sure appreciate a like and a subscribe. Thanks for joining us. Y'all have a great day. God bless.